Hello everyone, welcome to round 9 of the Limited Adhesion Radical Championship presented by Make Real Media. After so many weeks in America and a couple in Japan, we've finally come home to Silverstone. I'm Gareth and joining me as ever is Jim. Jim, how are you?
It feels good to be home, doesn't it, Gareth? Welcome back to Silverstone, everybody. This is the place where it all began for Formula One,
and funnily enough, where it all began for the Radical Championship as well, as we had a test race before the season at Silverstone. It feels like such a long time ago now. But Jim, we're using a slightly different layout for this race. Please tell us about it.
Yeah, this is what they used to use in the 90s, and it's not the modern layout as everybody is familiar with these days with the Silverstone wing. This is when Copse is the first corner of the track. So we've got the classic Copse section for the iconic Maggots and Beckett's before the Hanger Straight. And then on this layout, when you get to Vale, it's a much quicker version than we've got now. And then we don't have the Abbey chicane either, and unlike the modern layout when you go off into the pit straight area at Abbey, this goes underneath the bridge before you get into the final section of the track around Brooklands and Luffield, where it's a bit more twisty and a lot lower speed than the rest of this high-speed circuit. So it might be a different sort of racing there, and any mistakes you might see cars getting past.
Yeah, super fast track. Certainly a welcome break from the Rovals and some of these tight, smaller layouts that we've been racing on. So 4 weeks on the bounce, we've had wins for Mark Tranter. Different polemen, though, for the last few weeks with Gavin from round 4. We had Gavin, then Gavin again for Lime Rock, then Will for Daytona, Mark for Scuba, and then Rob Miller was back on pole at Phoenix. That's his third Poland championship. So be interesting to see if anyone can stop Mark and whether he can make it 5 on the bounce. But let's look at the pole lap now and get a comparison against Gavin Kelly. Here we are for an onboard side-by-side comparison between the top two on the grid. You've got Mark Tranter on the left, Gavin Kelly on the right. Let's look and see where the differences were in their laps. So as they cross the line, both running out wide to the left-hand side. Now you're looking for the right-hand fifth gear corner of Copse. Very quick corner. If we pause it here, you can see Gavin fully committed to the inside apex curb and carrying a bit more speed than Mark on the left. Both run out wide on the exit, trying to use as much curb and grass matting as possible. And then up to sixth gear, you can see Gavin slightly quicker into sixth than Mark was. Now dropping down to fourth for the second part of Maggots, then down to third as they come round onto the Hanger Straight. Let's pause it here at the end of sector 1, and you can see here that Gavin is much closer to that loudspeaker than Mark is on the left hand side. So sector 1, Gavin's ahead. Let's go on with the lap now, down the Hanger Straight towards Stowe Corner at the end. So flat out sixth gear, this is the fastest part of the track for these cars. And here we go into Stowe Corner, and here you can see Mark much more committed to the apex curb, Gavin preferring to take a slightly central middle of the road line, but look, Gavin's slower into the corner than Mark, so Mark carrying more speed through Stowe. And on we go now to Vale, flat left into a third gear right. So here's the left, down to third for the right, and as they come through the exit, I'm going to pause it here, Gavin onto the Santander markings on the fully outside track limits, which is legal, he can do that. You can see the curbing here on the right of his car, and here Mark actually fully within track bounds. You'd say Mark is fractionally ahead judging by where that's the Santander here. So Mark is currently slightly ahead now. I wonder if that's just due to Stowe Corner previously. On we go. So now we've got Abbey, which is just a flat left-hander in this configuration. Both up to sixth gear, approaching bridge. Under they go, flat through bridge. And now they're going to be hard on the brakes. Through they go, now down to Brooklands. Down to second gear. Oh, Gavin even using first, and then the never-ending misery that is Luffield. Round they go. Open the car up, use the curve on the exit, and the grass creeks again. through Woodcote, and if we pause it here at the end of the lap, you can see, so this is where Mark is. If we were looking at Gavin's screen, you can see, so Mark's slightly ahead, and that is the difference of 1/10 of a second around this layout of Silverstone. So pole position, Mark Tranter 133.690, second place Gavin Kelly 133.774.
Great analysis there, Gareth, thanks. And we've got Mark Tranter in first place with Gavin Kelly on the front row, with them both 1 second ahead of Rob Miller in third, joined alongside with Will Burnett. Tony Hankin is in fifth place with Stephen Batty on the third row. Gareth Winslade seventh place with Gary Jones alongside him. 3 drivers this week did not set a time. We've got Lawrence Erin Jenkins in 9th, James Garlick, the newcomer, in 10th, and Paul Dixon starting in 11th place.
Thanks, Jim. Here we are on the grid then for what should be a high-speed and exciting race. Mark Tranter on pole, Gavin Kelly second on the grid, Rob Miller on third, Will Burnett in that bright pink car behind them. And away they go. Mark gets away well, comes across to cover Gavin. Gavin trying to keep behind him, and Will and Rob are right side by side into T1. Rob staying ahead there. And look how wide Mark ran there, really wide out. That was off track, definitely. So here we come into Maggots and Beckett's for the first time. No change in the order, except that, there's Gary Jones has just spun ahead of Gareth Winslade and onto the hanger straight now for the first time. What do you make of that,
Trant
Jim?
went really wide out that first quarter, didn't he? Now Gavin Kelly looks like he's got a great slipstream opportunity. Burnett on Miller as well. And Kelly on the inside now. Can he get a move that sticks? Side by side. Miller's spun, that's in contact with Burnett.
Yeah, and there was Batty going way off track there through Stowe Corner. So the top 4 as we come through Vale Chicane was Tranter, Kelly, Burnett and Hankin. So here's a recovering Rob Miller chasing down Gary Jones, who also had that early spin, with newcomer to the championship, James Garlick, running in 11th at the moment. James now past the ledge. Yeah, nice to have
got the ledge on the grass there.
So Jones and Miller now coming into the end of the lap complex, and look at Rob taking it straight through in Priory into Brooklands. Round the outside. He's run off the track there, carrying a little too much speed.
Too eager on these cold tyres, maybe.
Maybe so, yeah. It's always a tricky car on cold tyres, as we know, the Radical. It takes a couple of laps to let it warm up. We can really give it its head. So we're completing the first lap then. Mark Tranter still running ahead of Gavin Kelly, and those two have gapped Will Burnett by about 1.7 seconds.
Well, these two they've been the championship contenders the entire way as they make their way into a hanger straight, and already starting to extend the lead and have a battle head-to-head for what is going to be a crucial point of this race, or crucial point of this championship, sorry. So the points are really going to start making a big difference, because those dropped rounds start really impacting at this point of the championship.
Yeah, you're right. With round 9, this is round 9, and there's 11 rounds, and only your best 8 scores count. Now, Mark is only going to be in the championship for 8 rounds because he started late, but Gavin, with those 4 races that Mark's now won on the bounce, Gavin really needs to get past and get another win going here, or he might fall behind in the championship by the end of the season.
Gavin will be wondering what's happened in this championship after doing so well early on with all those victories, 3 in a row, and Tranter turning up. And I think Gavin will relish the fight. So the Kelly Tranter show, as it's been recently, has been really engaging seeing Tranter close up on that championship.
Yeah.
But they've been rarely since a few Rovals ago, wasn't it, when Tranter had the spin to allow Gavin to win the race. Tranter's been prolific since then.
Yeah.
So Gavin slipped down the order a bit, and having these two fighting at the front like it was early in Tranter's days of the championship is so good to see.
Yeah, it really is. And you can see now that the lap times, they're these guys are already treating those tyres as warm. Now they're into the 134s. You see a bit further down the field, everyone else sort of 136, 137, so they're not quite as trusting on the tyres, but then again, they're also not quite as quick as these guys. The interest for me is whether Will Burnett can catch up to Gavin and Mark ahead of him and make this a three-way fight for the win. We know Will's quite a quick driver. On board now.
Yeah, Will's
Gavin
been frustrated
Kelly.
a few times, hasn't he, with having a few incidents and then actually racing the leaders, but a lap down. So this is great for him to be in a podium position. Not too far back behind these guys, only 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, he just needs to stop having those mistakes or being caught up in those accidents, like you say, and he could have a lot more decent results. Like we've seen when he doesn't have those accidents, he has great results. Just few and far between right now. Still on board with Gavin as we come up to complete the end of the lap. Still chasing, only half a second behind Mark. I imagine Gavin must be getting quite sick of looking at the back of Mark's car week in, week out. Yeah, here we go further down.
Well, Gavin's had a few poor races, hasn't he? Unfortunately, and was it last week when he brutally got past line with a bit of a shove? But
yeah,
really looking for those championship points now.
Well, the computer disconnected after that as well. So here we've got Gary Jones and newcomer James Garlick chasing him down. This is for 9th and 10th at the moment.
It's lovely to see another pink car on the grid, don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. We all miss the Mr. Blubby
Not
livery.
enough yellow spots.
Kind of reminded me of the old Porsche pink pig liveries of the old days. On board Mark Tranter now, looking back at Gavin Kelly and Will Burnett behind him.
Really not drop Burnett as they might have done. Burnett will be happy with this pace to real top 3 at the moment.
Absolutely.
Of course, Line isn't racing this race. He's having a week off, but I'd expect Line to be up there as well after recent performances.
Yeah. You can see Will's actually closed in by about 3 or 4 tenths now on Gavin, so if he can keep this pace up, then he might be able to launch an assault.
Such a good camera angle seeing the different lines. Might be minor, but you can see the different lines these guys take. And of course, we've got the start replay now.
On board with James Garlick. And, you forget to put it in first gear there.
Failed to engage.
A replay from lap 1. So this is Gary Jones just dropping it as we go into the Maggots and Beckett's complex. And everyone did very well to get around him. James being very cautious there. On board with Will Burnett now. This is attacking Rob into Stowe, and bit of contact there.
I don't know if Rob saw him.
No. So from the off-board, you can see, he just pinched into him. Unfortunate racing incident there.
Not much space for Burnett to go into, but
No.
got away with it.
I wonder how much Gavin's regretting not pushing harder because you could see that he was side by side with Mark into Stowe there as well. Replay lap 3. Rob attacking Gary Jones across the start finish line, and through he goes into Cops. He's back with our lead battle again.
I think you might be right. We're in the technical section of the track now, as we're starting to get towards Luffield, and Kelly might have had the best opportunity at the start of the race there. Like you say, was side by side, and he hasn't been able to get there ever since. We go through Woodcut over to the start finish line. Yeah,
we can see Will's fallen back slightly now from these two. The gap now 2 seconds to Mark, but obviously Gavin is in the middle of that battle, that gap, sorry. And did you see Will just dropped it in the background there? Will Burnett has gone off.
What happened there?
Into the wall. Maybe just grabbed a little too much grass or grasscrete on the exit of the corner, and that threw him off the track. I'm gutted to see that. I really thought that we were We were in for one of Will's good weeks. What a shame.
That's a lot of damage on that car. Unfortunate there for Burnett. And he's dropped places now. 7th place. Miller will be eyeing him up easily, surely, on the Hanger Straight.
Yeah, you got to assume he'll be going for a quick repair stop soon. So let's take a run down the order then. We've got Mark Tranter leading from Gavin Kelly, Tony Hankin now up to 3rd place, Stephen Batty in 4th, Gareth Winslade in 5th, Paul Dixon is in 6th, Rob Miller, who we're looking at now, is in 7th place with Will Burnett and a very damaged pink car in 8th. Barry Jones is in 9th, James Garlick 10th, and the Ledge is currently running 11th place. So Miller now, we're looking his best lap
We'll hopefully get a replay of what happened with Burnett.
Well, yes, that'd be good to see. Rob's looking to recover from his spin early on in his incident with Burnett, because he's now doing within a couple of tenths of the leader's pace, and in fact is the only other car capable of the 134s, it looks like, at the moment. Oh no, saying that, sorry,
Very
Will
well
obviously.
observed.
The only one without damage that's capable of doing them. Here's Will into the pits.
Will
now
makes
for
his pit
fast
stop.
repair.
Well, does this help Kelly now, who doesn't have to look in his mirrors to see where the pink car is, that he can now concentrate solely on trying to overtake Tranter in 1st place?
Yeah, you're right. With like a good 8 seconds between him and 3rd place Tony, it's really taken the pressure off Gavin. Here we're looking at Paul Dixon being chased by Rob Miller, who's carving his way through the field, you have to say, at the moment.
Rob Miller is hungry to make up for that early spin at this exact point on the track at Stowe as well.
Yeah. So if you just look at his, like, he's doing well over a second quicker a lap than the 3 cars ahead of him. So it'd be interesting to see if he's got enough time to get to, well, where can he get to, in fact? Can he get past all 3 of those? Can he get past 4? I don't think he's going to be able to recover to Mark and Gavin, but whether he can get past, say, Tony in 3rd, that'll be his goal for sure.
It's a good, Hankin will be happy where he's running as well, up in 3rd place at the moment.
Well, yeah, he's going to be delighted with that. But first of all, obviously, Rob's got to get past Paul Dixon here, who's currently running 6th.
It's just his opportunity now, right on the tail.
2 wide into Copse, and Rob is through. Next target is Gareth Winslade running in 5th.
I'd say that's sensible racing there by Dixon. I think you could probably tell that Miller has the pace on him, and doing any further battling might actually slow both of them down.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't want to compromise his own race when he's been sticking quite close to Winslade in 5th, and who is also there for sticking like within a couple of seconds of Batty in 4th. So these 3 having their own sort of private race spread out across about 6 seconds, and they won't want to be interfered with by the charging Miller. Into Vale they went.
He's adding a lot of spice into this race, isn't he? You could say it is Miller time.
Yeah. Yeah, Miller, well,
The only one.
He's the one who's recovering, and everyone else just seems to be driving pretty consistently, you have to say. No one's making any... We haven't seen any huge mistakes for a while, apart from, well, I can think of like the 2, which is Gary on the opening lap and Will when he lost it through Copse. A couple of laps.
Completely correct. No, I think you're right. It's that's what I'm saying. It's Miller who's the only one that's doing any kind of overtakes. Everybody clearly very comfortable going around Silverstone. Probably done an infinite number of laps between all of them over the last 20, 30 years in sim racing or arcade racing games. Everyone very comfortable with going around this track and not making that many mistakes now. The tyres are up to temperature.
You're right. Always plenty to learn though around here, such as well with this new layout. You know you're not braking for that hard second gear Vale chicane. Instead, you're carrying max speed into the first part and third gear on the exit, but then you don't need to brake as hard as you think there, and you can carry a lot more speed on the exit, and you can run wide over the sponsors strip like we saw Gavin do in qualifying. So there's always nuances in a track you can learn however many times you've been around it. But like you say, everyone doing a solid job here and just trying to maximise the score of points that they can get from this race.
So do you think now it's a point of when will Miller overtake Winslade, or is Winslade now
it's
feeling
inevitable.
quite comfortable?
Inevitable. Look, you've got Rob running the 35s. Winslade's best lap is a 35, but last lap 36, and look how much time Rob's already taken out of him. It's just going to be a matter of when, not if.
I suspect that's the problem with the delta between Kelly and Tranter at the front, that what you're looking at the last laps, there's about a tenth in it. Best lap, 2/10. There's probably not enough there for Kelly to really take advantage of unless Tranter runs wide, makes a mistake, spins, I suppose.
Yeah, and Mark is prone to the odd spin because he's pushing so hard, but I think when he gets to the race, he does go ultra solid. So I can't remember seeing a mistake from him in race since Daytona, or about 3-4 races ago. Here we go onto the hanger straight now through Chapel. So when will Rob be in striking range of Winslade? There's Batty ahead in 4th place. I wonder if he's aware that Rob's coming for them. Only 6
And where
laps
do you
left.
see at this race so far, and how and where the best place is to overtake her? I think we've seen Miller, instead of where I thought it would be down at Stowe, he's done a few overtakes into Copse so far, hasn't he?
Yeah, Copse seems to be his preferred place to attack. Stowe's always been the preferable one, but you do need that sort of delta in time, to get the job done. And everyone's sort of doing a good job through Maggots and Beckett's and not really losing too much time. So I guess coming out of Luffield is where Rob is gaining a lot of time on people. And look, as you can see here, look at how much speed he's carrying on the exit compared to Winslade. And
Speaking of which, indeed,
this
right?
is it. Straight down the inside. Winslade gives him
Running
plenty
to
of
Copse,
space.
yeah.
You can see, like,
It finds out that it is Miller time.
yeah. And Winslade's been running about 3 seconds back from Stephen Batty for pretty much the entirety of the race. And now is the time we can see whether, we know Batty's a pretty feisty driver and he will get his elbows out. But Batty's running a little slower than Rob, who's now chasing him down. So it'd be interesting to see whether Batty will make more of a fight of it than Paul and Gareth, the ones who've just been passed.
Of course, Paul and Gareth could be the ones that are the beneficiaries if there is a big fight and a contact between the two of them. That could get them much higher up. We've got a replay now of lap 7.
So this is Garlic on Jones. Garlic, not the green car. And into Stowe for a classic Silverstone pass.
Did look easy.
Lap 8 on board with Burnett. So is this where he made his... Wow, he didn't even get that much grass at all. He must be furious with the car. You can just see it gets a little crossed up on the curb there, but I'm staggered to see him drop it like that. And you've got to feel sorry for the guy, because that was very unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a very unusual accident, that, wasn't it? Just a smidge of the grass. That was a harsh punishment for a not particularly horrible crime.
No, exactly. And it was just like the rear wheel got slightly out of line, and he was pointing slightly diagonal across the curb, and then when he tried to correct, that's what spat him into the wall. But yeah, huge shame that. So back to the live pictures, and Stephen Batty being hunted down by Rob Miller. You see, the last laps, there was over a second difference between the two. And Dixon and Winslade behind, keeping a watching brief and hoping this will vault them a couple of more places up the order if there is a battle and a bit of a clash.
Well, I find it unfortunate for Burnett to have had that spin, but I'm had to take a ridiculous line there.
Wow,
That allowed Miller to close up.
It's very, you can go as wide as you like out through that corner now because there is no track limit there. But
it doesn't seem to have helped him at all in this part now, as Miller's getting towards the part of the track as he goes through Priory, where he's going to make it through already.
That's a great move as they go into Luffield. So yeah, you don't often see
back a little bit.
Brooklands there. Does he fancy a lunch?
That came a couple of corners sooner than I thought. You're right.
Oh, and that's Gary Jones facing towards the track and in the wall at Stowe Corner. I wonder what's happened there.
At all then.
So here's Mark.
I was saying earlier with Burnett, it's unfortunate that he's had that spin and he'll be so frustrated running down in 10th place now. He'll be, I think, catching up on the ledge. But fortunately, he's getting in 3rd place was partly because of his robust moves with Miller in that first lap. And Miller slipping back has led us to have quite a bit of action in the race with his overtakes.
Yeah, you're right. And as we come up to complete another lap, we can see, so it's Mark Tranter leading from Gavin Kelly, Tony Hankin in 3rd, Rob Miller is in 4th place now, Stephen Batty 5th, Winslade 6th, 7th Dixon, 8th is Garlick, 9th is The Ledge, Will Burnett in 10th, and Gary Jones appears to have retired. As we saw when we were watching Mark and Gavin through Stowe, we could see that Gary's car was still stuck in the fence there, so assume he's actually out of the race for good now, unfortunately. So what's the gap then? Tony Hankin to Rob Miller is about 5 seconds with 2.5 laps left to run in this race. At
the moment, I just cannot see any other. Yeah, I just can't see any other overtakes possible. I think that's going to be insurmountable for Rob Miller to gain, which would be a great result for Tony Hankin. And yeah, Mark Tranter, Garen Kelly, they've been a second or two apart the entire race. Tranter's actually extended his lead a little bit recently.
You're right. And there was Gary's car was still stuck there, so he is out. Lap 11, replay of Gary coming into Stowe. And he's off throttle, and that's a very strange accident. We'll have to find out after the race what happened there. On board with
the equivalent of a car doing a ragdoll a little bit, wasn't it? Just nobody inside of it.
Yeah, super strange. So on board Will Burnett and chasing the Ledge. Nice to see he's got some Team Allegiance on the back wing there, the Ledge. I haven't noticed that before on his car.
It's lovely to see. Well done, Lawrence.
Now for Abbey, flat 6th gear. And then the right-hander.
This camera angle is terrific, isn't it?
It's so cool, so cool. As we go through Priory, 3rd gear. And off board now for Brooklands and then into Luffield. Oh, straight up the inside there from Will. Let me get it to. Oh, Lawrence just gave him a huge squeeze on the exit there.
And that makes it through safely and up into 9th place with just about 2 laps to go.
Yeah. So still 5 seconds between Hankin and Miller. Oh, and there's Lawrence just running wide through Copse. Yeah, as you say, I can't.
Kelly now
I don't.
1.1 seconds behind Tranter.
Yeah, falling further back, and we're on board with Kelly now. So yeah, as you say, I don't think I can see Rob being able to close in another lap. 4 seconds for Tony. Tony's been doing a very solid drive there. Picked up the position from Burnett's accident, and Gavin getting all kinds of curbing under his car there. He was lucky not to have a repeat of Will's accident. Through Beckett's maggots.
Kelly been so aggressive on the curbs in this section of the track in the early parts.
He's
Fighting for any sort of advantage he can get.
desperate not to have yet another Tranter victory, but I kind of feel that it's going that way. Mark hasn't put a foot wrong this race.
I think you called it right earlier, Gareth, when Kelly could have made that move stick early on. Might be frustrated that he didn't, because it could be him ahead, and the similar pace of these two, he might have been able to stay ahead as well.
Yeah. And did you see the understeer that Gavin just had coming out of the Vale corner there? He was turning the wheel, and the front was just washing wide. So, I mean, he's been stuck in the dirty air the entirety of the race behind Mark. And, I mean, this is classic Silverstone racing around the classic Silverstone layout, unfortunately, where it's you need a big pace differential to get past anyone, like we've seen with Rob coming back through the field. But these guys are too close in pace to really make that difference.
There you go, Tranter's now got yet another victory under his belt.
So Mark Tranter takes the win from Gavin Kelly in second place. I'm still waiting for Tony Hankin. Oh, it just shows you the margin between those two drivers and the rest of the field today. There, Tony Hankin finishes in third place. Rob Miller finishing fourth. And there's Stephen Batty coming home in fifth place. Gareth Winslade home in sixth place. Paul Dixon in seventh. Solid drive from Batty, Winslade and Dixon. I think I saw Batty run wide once, and apart from that, all three of them had super clean drives. James Garlick on debut comes home in eighth place. Nice drive there. Will Burnett in ninth. And Lawrence Aaron Jenkins will be the last finisher on the road in 10th place. Obviously, Gary Jones stuck in the fence at Stone. Hopefully, someone's out there on a moped picking him up now.
You'd want to have a shout out as well to Tony Hankin, Gareth, who I don't think I saw any mistakes from him as well, which has got him his third place.
Well, yeah. Tony had a super drive. You're right. A slap on the wrist for me for not pointing that out quicker, because, yeah, he drove superbly there. What did you think of the race then, Jim?
Well, it's a bit like a bit apt, I think, that the pre-season testing was done at Silverstone, because this was very much like a Barcelona Formula One race, with everybody very comfortable with the track, pretty comfortable with the car when the tyres seemed to get up to temperature, and there just wasn't enough of a gap in performance between most of the drivers for those overtakes to happen. But good for the championship, I think, for the top two. Not the most engaging of races, but lovely to see the cars going around Silverstone on a real proper racetrack.
Absolutely, yeah. And so if we just see some driver quotes after the race, Tony saying he was pleased with the result, but he was basically time trialing most of it, because obviously he did fall away from those top two, and no one challenging him from behind. Gavin was saying that he had the pace, but pole position won the race. And he agrees with us that he had a look in lap one into Stowe, but maybe he didn't commit enough. Will Burnett was going brilliantly and closing in on P2 until that tiny bit of asphalt decided to crash in the car. Mark Tranter, though, super happy with his result, and he was saying the track was particularly fast during the race. Dixon's comment, again, he had the pace, again, everyone else had more pace. Bless him. So Gary Jones, his Oculus Rift went down during the race, so that's what ended his race. And the Ledge tried to keep Will back for the extra championship point, and he just wishes the race ending had come slightly earlier.
It looked like a professional race a little bit, didn't it, this time, with everybody staying on the black stuff, more or less?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, much more well behaved. But next week that will all change as we head to Laguna Seca, super challenging track, and with a high powered car like the Radical, I think it's going to be a very tough challenge. Well, Jim, I want to thank you so much for joining me once again and calling the race with me.
Yes, thank you for having me. See you again next time, folks. And let's see where this championship goes.
Yeah. So that was round 9 of the Limited Adhesion Radical Championship presented by Make Real Media. I'm Gareth. That was Jim. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Goodbye.